Welcome back. We're discussing how a dialogue on human rights might affect relations between the US and China. From Beijing, we have Victor Gao, a political analyst and director of the China National Association of International Studies. And here in Washington is Harry Wu, a Chinese activist and executive director of the DC-based Laogai Research Foundation, which monitors allegations of human rights abuses in China. Mr. Gao, if I could get an email question to you, please, sir. We got this in from a viewer by the name of Tariq al-Basha, who says, why aren't Muslims like the Uyghurs allowed to attend mosques in China before the age of 18? Couldn't that raise fundamentalist voices and result in extremist attacks on China? I wonder if China has that kind of policy in place, doesn't it risk the chance of people becoming insurgents?
I did not catch the first part of your question.
Yes, I was
18 years old.
Yeah, it said that the viewer was asking why Muslims like the Uyghurs are not allowed to attend mosques before the age of 18, and was asking, could this raise the risk of extremism developing?
First of all, I don't think that assertion is correct. In China, the religious freedom is there. I go to, for example, Buddhist temples regularly, even though, of course, I'm in my 40s. I'm not aware of any restriction about Muslims below the age of 18 not being able to go to any mosques. I would say it is untrue. So I think the email user could verify the accuracy of that information. Okay. In China, for example, especially in Muslim regions in Xinjiang, there are thousands of mosques, and people can go to the mosques on a regular basis to exercise their religious freedom. This is also a fact, especially in the more recent time, because in the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s, yes, religious freedom was very much abridged, but ever since China started to open to the rest of the world and started the economic and political reform for the last 30 years or so, religious freedom is being enjoyed by the people. Yes.
Mr. Wu, I know you're concerned with a lot of the things that you feel need to be fixed right now. What would you like the US to do in these meetings? What would you suggest they approach China with?
Well, I hope the human rights become a regular issue between the United States and China, because the American heard the Chinese are free to force abortion, talking about religious freedom, and harvest the organ from executed prisoners. And China never issued any information that how many people they executed, whatever is right and wrong. And many people, for example, like Liu Xiaobo, got sent to the jail because they charge him as a subvert the government. He write an article, whatever. This is not freedom for speech. I think this is very disturbed.
How do you regard the comment that comes often out of China saying that, look, economics and prosperity will help the country develop, and if those are focused on first, human rights will develop out of those?
Well, I heard that during the Cold War, the Western country don't want to make any investment or technology with the Soviet Union. And this will bring down the Berlin Wall finally. And now they say, well, we engage with China by economy, by money. This is the best way to change China. I do not know which is right and what is wrong. But anyway, China is changing. It's very frequently changing.
Mr. Gao, of course, this issue of economics coming first and bringing human rights improvements over time, there is still the need for China to engage fully in the global community through, freedom of internet access, which is one of the issues I think the DC talks will raise. Surely China needs to address these as a priority to make sure that Chinese people are fully connected with the world through freedom of internet access, for example.
Of course, Riz, I would say, while your guest in Washington, D.C. still talks about the Google issue, let me tell you, Google has moved its internet Chinese language services to Hong Kong, but it has maintained all the other operating businesses in China. Why? Because they don't want to abandon their money-making businesses in China. The Chinese language search engine itself only has about 1/3 of the market share, way behind the Baidu, which is the dominant Chinese language search engine. On top of that, don't forget, China now has the largest internet user population in the whole world, more than 400 million people. And in addition, we have more than 800 million mobile phone users who use text messages a lot. Do you believe that Chinese internet users or mobile phone users are not talking about whatever they want to talk over the internet or over the mobile phone, that would be ludicrous. We talk, we chat, we use the internet and the mobile phone services a great deal, much more so than many other people in other countries in the world. Therefore, while Google wants to move its Chinese language search engine from China to Hong Kong, which is part of China anyway, don't forget the internet businesses are thriving, and Google walking away from the Chinese internet language search services will not be the end of the expansion and the booming businesses of the Chinese internet. Therefore, let's be more objective. Let's look at the truth as it is. Don't be seized upon by bias or prejudices when you look at Chinese situations.
Now, of course, I'll get you to respond in a second, Mr. Wu. China must surely monitor internet traffic and stuff very closely. I mean, America does it.
Well, of course, China has some censorship on the internet messages and certain contents, but I would say every major country has some censorship. The difference is the contents may be different. In the United States, for example, anything about jihadism is being censored. Anything about child pornography is being censored, etc. In Germany, anything about Nazism, anything about a denial of Holocaust will be censored. In Israel, they censor other things. In China, we have other sensitivities which may be not acceptable to people in the United States. But who is going to be the judge to say that while the United States can maintain its limited censorship over the contents on the internet, China will not be able to exercise its censorship right?
Yeah.
Therefore, let's really calm down and see, because circumstances in different countries do differ a great deal.
Okay. Mr. Wu, your response, sir?
Well, it will judge by Chinese propaganda department of the Communist Party. Chinese Communist Party have a very huge department, so-called propaganda department, directing all the media. And in the police station, there's an internet police. They control everything. I think we don't need to make any simple judgment. Everybody knows about it.
Let me put an email question to you, Mr. Wu. It comes from Ali Nasser Abdurrahman in Somalia, who says, China's economy kept booming during the financial crisis and made the country strong. And therefore, the PRC government will tend to turn a deaf ear to any talks about human rights with the US. Do you feel that China's position economically has become so powerful and the US is so dependent on business with China that it's, let's say, deterred from or scared of really overdoing its pressure?
I don't think Chinese economy is so powerful. It is a kind of, they own the big money and big technology and can do something, but I do not think it's such a big power in the future. But Chinese political situation is very critical situation. And that's why the Chinese foreign policy is very different from the before. It's not like exporting the communism revolution as not talking about communism revolution inside China. Well, we're talking about economy. But I think in the near future, the political system have to change.
The economic situation can put pressure on the political system. It does it in America. Surely the improvement of the economy in China will force people to change politically.
Because everybody need the money. Mm-hmm. And you cannot say only I need the idea of communism. That is fundamental change.
Well, I've got about 30 seconds, Mr. Gao, to get from you. Are you optimistic these talks will be the first step in a number of continuing talks, or do you think that there will be too much conflict in these talks in DC? Just a quick answer, sir.
No, I think from the Chinese perspective, such discussions are welcomed. And I think if both sides can really respect each other and show due consideration to each other, of course both sides will benefit, because it will help us to understand each other better, help us to overcome differences of views better, and also eventually we'll have much greater common ground between China and the United States.
All right, Victor Gao and Harry Wu, thank you very much, gentlemen,
thank you.
For joining us. Thank you. Thank you for being with us too. Now remember, you can follow the show on Facebook and see what we're up to there. You can give us your feedback on topics and post your questions and comments. On the next show, is Iraq unraveling politically? The main political parties are no closer to forming a government now than they were 2 months ago when the elections were held. And the bloodshed is on the rise, just as US troops prepare to pull out all combat forces by the end of August. How will the escalating violence delay the plan to withdraw? Be sure to tune in for that. Send in your questions from me and the team. We'll see you next time.
立てて